South Africa, 32-12 winners. I feel like I've seen that scoreline somewhere before, right? 32-12. I've just gotten up here in New Zealand, slept through this game, but feeling slightly under the weather. So I didn't get up at like 3 in the morning to watch this one, but I have watched it. I didn't know the result, which is fortunate. I didn't touch any social media, so 32-12. Pretty comfortable win for the Springboks in the end. Much changed Springboks side, but came through pretty well. They missed some chances for sure, but they secured a bonus point, even though Joel Stransky seems to think they didn't get a bonus point. I don't know if you heard that in his post-match interview with Jasper Wiese, but they did get a bonus point. It's 3 tries to none, so 3 more than the opposition. And Argentina, man, they need to work on their contestable kicks because South Africa caused them all kinds of trouble with the aerial battle. So anyway, we'll go through some of the key events, some of the stats, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on the game. But yeah, like I said, it was contestable kicks. They were brutal for the Argentinian guys. They really couldn't really take a trick, and they kept giving the ball to bloody Wiese uncontested, and that guy was just having a field day. But I'll get to some of that later. The first penalty of the game went to South Africa on like the 1 minute mark. Kremer for not rolling away, and he conceded a few penalties in this one. Kind of costly for his boys. 3 points to nil. South Africa often opting to take the 3, showing all kinds of respect to Argentina, to be fair, and showing that they want to get the win more than anything else, not kind of chase the bonus points early. Argentina, though, did manage to win a penalty at the breakdown. That one was Montoya. Not long later, but when they opted for touch, they lost the line out. And in a kind of similar story to the All Blacks and the Wallabies the day before, for me anyway, I know it'd be the morning and the night for you guys in other parts of the world, but it's like, if you're going to beat the All Blacks in New Zealand or the Springboks in South Africa, you probably need to not really make any kind of unforced errors. And I know sometimes line out can be just stolen, but man, you need to win that line out if you're Argentina there. And that was one of a few situations where they weren't able to get it done. Later on, Sanchez missed touch, which was another kind of unforced error when they did have a penalty. So the unforced errors were starting to mount early. That being said, in terms of that kicking game, Willems did knock it on pretty early as well. Like, it wasn't like every Springboks high ball was being taken by their own guys. Willems had a kind of few dropsies this time. He still looked a bit rattled. That guy never quite, I mean, probably a bit broad to say he never, but sometimes he looks a bit kind of uneasy, and today I think was maybe one of those games. Maybe I'm being a bit unfair on him, but because, I mean, LaRue had his own issues with high balls for a period of his South African career, but yeah, you kind of want Fussy to go to the back at 15, don't you? I don't know, maybe that's just me. Argentina punished, man. Punished on 13 minutes. We've all talked about Reinach's pace. That guy's got wheels, you know that. And Argentina, if they didn't know that, they certainly found out on 13 minutes. They dropped the ball from a kind of set play. It was their own scrum feed, and they mucked it up under a bit of defensive pressure from the Springboks. And Reinach is the first guy to pounce on it, and he just shows some gas. Bruni got pretty close to him. Bruni was the closest of all the guys to get to him. With everyone chasing him down, it was Bruni who got closest. He got a hand on him, but couldn't grab him. And good conversion from Yankees makes it 10-0. You can't give Reinach any space, man. So that was a bit of a brutal one. Willems was immediately pinged, though, for not releasing the ball upon the restart. And both sides, I think, going forward, will be looking to work on their restarts, because both sides were kind of guilty of get points on the board and immediately concede a penalty or immediately knock it on. It wasn't kind of all that cohesive at times, but Argentina opted for the 3. So instead of being kind of a 7-pointer, it's almost like the Springboks try as a 4-pointer, because Argentina take the 3. So it's 10 points to 3, kind of soft way to let them back into a one-score game. But that being said, South Africa hit back pretty much immediately, man. Like, Fussy gets a try, so it's try to you, penalty to me, and then try to you again. And I talked about that aerial battle. Like, the ability for the Springbok guys to drop that ball in just that right kind of contestable zone proved really good. And I think it was Sanchez jumping up for that one. Etzebeth's able to get under it as well. That's kind of the hang time that it had on the kick. And Etzebeth manages to win it in the air. I don't even know if he jumped. He's just such a big man. He wins the ball in the air, and they get it to Elton Yankees just outside the Argentinian 22. He puts in a cross kick. It looks to be just too big. But Fussy, man, that guy has got a skill set on him. He's a pretty tall dude. He's kind of lanky. He puts out that mitt and just manages to bring the ball in one-handed and doesn't really break a stride and is able to go in for a fine try. So his try-scoring record for the Springboks in his early days is looking pretty impressive. Long may that continue. And suddenly it's 15-3. They missed the conversion for that one, but proper piece of work, that try. Dweber won a turnover on like 21 minutes. Thought he had a pretty good game. To be fair, I know he played for South Africa A, but this was his actual debut, so he just looks the build, doesn't he? When he's able to get over the ball, he's a very hard man to move. He's got that perfect kind of body shape where he's just, he's got so much muscle on top of him. He's just very hard to shift, basically. Interestingly, from then, the Springboks won another penalty. The Argentinians guilty of an early tackle, so kind of back-to-back penalties, and then South Africa opted for the 3, so it's 18-3. 18-3 again is looking pretty comfortable. It's a long way to come back for the Argentinians, given how few tries the Springboks have been like to concede in recent times. 26 minutes, there's a scrum penalty. I think it was Wilco Lowe that won that one. Again, the Springboks opted for 3. It was Frans Steyn from a long way out, but he missed that one. And he missed a couple of shots at goal, so he's still a big man, and he made a heap of tackles, but goal kicking today, again, like I'm talking about, both sides could have had a better result. That's one area where the Springboks will look back and go, we left a few points out there. On a 32-12, it doesn't matter, but maybe on another day. But I mean, everyone has a bad day at the office with the kicking tea every now and again. Half an hour, Springboks also miss a kind of a 5-meter attacking line-out, so again, both sides guilty of leaving some points out there. It's another one. And then the Argentinians look to kind of make a break, man. Facundo Issa, I swear the medic, I've only watched it once, the medic was on the pitch treating Sanchez, and Facundo Issa kind of ran towards the medic where there was a little bit of a gap. Now, usually the ref stops the game if they run towards the medic, but I guess Andrew Brace deemed it not close enough to need to stop the game. Issa was out in open space, and he put a kick through, so it was a kind of good territorial gain for the Pumas, but like clean breaks against the Springboks are really, really hard to come by. And that one almost seemed like a bit of good fortune that the medic was on the field. Again, I'll need to go back and watch it again if it was actually the running down the medic's line when Sanchez was on the field. But anyway, a few line breaks. I think 2 for the Pumas in the whole game. So yeah, kind of pretty costly, but they got some territory from that one. And then they won a penalty not long later. They got through some phases. They opted for 3, so it's kind of 18-6. They did manage to get that one, so 18-6, but I wrote a note that, man, the South Africans are being brutal at the breakdown. They were making the Argentinians' lives very uncomfortable. You could not give these guys a second, otherwise you were just going to get turned over. How many times did the Springboks guys just get there first, just clean out, and then the first arriving player just grabbed the ball, man? It was honestly absolutely brutal. So, but yeah, 18-6. Again, you're still within it, but then from the restart, Argentina conceded a penalty. The frustration was pretty evident on Kremer. Elton Yankees kicks it, 21-6. You can't be doing that, man. From the restart, you've just worked that hard to get 3 points, but punished. 38 minutes, Wilco Lowe conceded a penalty for advancing in front of the kicker. Pretty soft penalty, that one. Argentina go for touch. It's kind of getting towards half-time by that point. South Africa conceded a couple of penalties in their own 22. I think Montoya probably asked the question, like, are we thinking yellow card? There's a few kind of cynical penalties in your own 22 here, but the ref said, no, it's only a couple. So they kind of get let off when Argentina opt for the 3, but you got to opt for the 3 in that situation. It's been so hard knocking on the door of the South Africans' line. To that point, you got a penalty right in front. You take it as 21-9 at halftime. So 21-9 at halftime was not game over by any means. But South Africa, they're not looking like conceding a bunch of tries, are they? Second half, Argentina do kind of start with a hiss and a roar, a bunch of phases. They go for a drop goal. That one misses, and then Elton Yankees has a bit of a poor clearance, to say the least. I wanted Elton to have a good game, and he kicked pretty well from the tee. He did miss, I think, 1 or 2 kicks, if Franstein didn't get any of his, but he had a couple of unforced errors as well. I mean, so did Sanchez. Everyone has a couple, but I feel like Elton, given that he is the second choice guy, probably needs to put in a next to flawless performance, but he did have a few errors. He has a knock-on not long later. But yeah, that was one of his kind of worst kicks. South Africa get a penalty, or get conceded at the breakdown, conceded a penalty. Argentina again opt for the 3, so it's 21-12. And that's 6 points in a row that the Argentinians have scored. So if anything, that's kind of the most momentum that the Argentinians were really able to kind of gather in this game. 6 points on the bounce. So what do the South Africans do? You've just conceded 6 points in a row. You bring on Koch, you bring on Marks, and Inyekane is not far behind. Before Inyekane gets on though, like Koch and Marks, they force a scrum penalty, and from that point on, they're really able to kind of push the Argentinian scrum. It's still the starting front row for Argentina, and Inyekane comes on as well, and they really put the squeeze on the Argentinian pack. 24-12. So any momentum that the Argentinians were maybe gathering with those 6 points, I think, is pretty much snuffed out with that kick. Kremer concedes another penalty for a neck roll this time, and he gets subbed because the ref has to say to Montoya, nah, he's conceded too many. Four penalties he conceded, which is too many for any one player. So he was one penalty away from getting carded. So they replaced him with Lavanini, and Steyn has a long shot at goal, but he misses that one. It's about 50 metres. From then on, I think it's mostly South Africa, to be fair. They have a bunch of South African phases on 57 minutes. They get a penalty in front. They take it, 27-12. They did opt for touch on like 63 minutes. Remember, they're chasing that bonus point, kind of. I guess at that point, South Africa feel we've got the game pretty much in the bag. We're probably not going to lose it from here. They get a penalty. It's the first time at 27-12. They don't go for the sticks. And Elton just kicks the bloody thing dead, man. That's what I'm talking about those unforced errors. Like, Elton, come on, man. We saw him do it for the Lions when he played for the Lions. He was one of the best guys because the Lions had a huge maul. His kicking from hand was like pinpoint accurate. I loved watching that guy for the Lions. And then he kicks that one dead. Again, I know players do. I know it happens. But Elton, man, you didn't need that to be happening to you. I was rooting for you, Elton. But you kicked it dead. He'll get some stick for that one. Fussy does look to have got the bonus point try on 70 minutes. And again, it's a long period of pressure. Reinach with a kind of floating pass over. But the TMO, who hasn't been very intrusive into the game, to be fair, the TMO looks back and says Malcolm Marx has kind of crawled along the ground after a maul a few phases earlier. And to be fair, the Argentinians had been pinged in the first half for the same thing. It was Kremer, actually, who crawled. So, yeah, that was kind of consistent, which is what we like to see. So that try was chalked off, which was kind of a big one, given that it was that bonus point try. But they still get it on 78 minutes. Hendrickson, who I didn't even know was playing. I thought it was supposed to be Herschel Yankees. He must have pulled out late. Hendrickson on his debut, man, gets a try. Van Staden has a big run. I think it was Mornestein that put in the final pass, but Hendrickson goes over in the corner. They take a drop goal for the conversion for some reason. They were trying to hurry. Did the Springboks not know that it's not 4 tries for a bonus point either? I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. It hasn't been 4 tries bonus point for ages. But yeah, it's 30-12 because they missed that conversion. Argentina do knock on the door at the death to try and steal that bonus point away, but they knock it on eventually. So they can't cross the whitewash of the Springboks, man. It's proved to be a thing in recent times, man. The Springboks are a very, very difficult team to score tries against. But yeah, good win for them, man. Possession is with Argentina, 54%. Likewise, territory, although the second half territory was more in favour of the Springboks. A lot of the time, the Argentinians in the second half were kind of just around the halfway line, between the 22 and the halfway line, basically. Yeah, it was tough for them. Run meters 361 to 249. Now the interesting one is there. You've seen the Springboks have had less ball. They've also had way fewer passes. So you look at how many runs and passes and whatnot went on in the game, and then there's an interesting number. If you look at how many carries did the Pumas guys make and how many meters did they get, it works out to 2.7 meters per carry, which in the scheme of things is bugger all. You want to be getting at least 4. 4 is kind of like the magic number that you're getting over the advantage line. You're putting defenses under pressure. 2.7 is not pretty. It's a bad look. The Springboks, on the other hand, have 361 run meters from like 70 carries. So their average is like 5.1. So when the Springboks had the ball, they weren't kicking it. They were quite capable of busting it up over that advantage line. Like I mentioned, Visa was one of the big carriers. Obviously, Reinach getting into space helps. But yeah, Springboks just very efficient at what they were doing, man. Like the kicking numbers are huge. 45 kicks from the Springboks is massive. And 29 from the Pumas. The Pumas are a kicking team as well. They like to kick off Sanchez. I think they had 35 kicks against Wales. They had 29 in this game, but 45 kicks is a lot, man. I think Elton has 20 and Reinach has 12. But why wouldn't you? When the Pumas guys are having such trouble under that high ball, why wouldn't you kick it to them? The Springboks were either able to get the ball back and maybe a good chance of forcing a Pumas knock on. And then scrum time was joyous for them. So the Pumas will need to be better under the high ball. I don't know what you do. A lot of their wingers aren't the biggest guys, right? Like Delhi's pretty short. Carreras, I don't think is that tall. They don't have any real big wingers. How tall is Moroni? I'm not sure. But yeah, they need to be better under the high ball for next week. Absolutely. Because if you were the Springboks, I don't know if you would change it. It was really working wonders. Both sides struggled a bit at line out. 6 from 8 for the Springboks is, again, below what they would usually set their high standards to. 8 from 10 for the Pumas. Penalties conceded 11 to 13. A lot of those for the Pumas at scrum time, to be fair. Clean breaks is 2 apiece, so pretty low in terms of the clean breaks. It just wasn't that kind of game. The Pumas' defense wasn't bad, man. They made 82% of their tackles. They did miss a few, but yeah, some of the moments of magic for the Springboks were pretty hard to contain. Boxer, 84%, make 104 tackles. You look at Quacker Smith, makes 17 from 19, did concede a couple of penalties. Diaka, 16 from 16, Stain, 10 from 10. Kolisi goes off after like less than an hour, just over an hour. 7 from 7 from him, wins a turnover. So a lot of big shifts from the Springbok defenders, man. Montoya's 11 from 11. Like, he was great as well. Dweba was great as well for the Springboks, but Montoya was really good as captain, won a turnover too. But yeah, Visa is man of the match. 12 carries, 73 run meters, 7 defenders beaten. You can't kick that guy the ball, man. He loves getting it uncontested and just trucking it back up. He ain't doing nothing else. He's not going to pass. He's going to put his head down and bury into some defenders. He makes 3 from 4 tackles, so that kind of wasn't his role for this one. But yeah, the scrums at times were a bit ugly. The ref had to reset a few of those. So the game kind of was a little bit stop-start at times. As I mentioned, Kremer had 4 penalties conceded. Chaparro had 3. So, yeah. Stransky was on the sideline. He's usually the co-commentator, but yeah, he did the post-match interview. And Visa didn't seem to realise as well that they did get a bonus point. But maybe he just thought Stransky would know and just assumed that he was correct. I don't know. It's a bizarre one. Bizarre. I started got me questioning about the bonus points thing, but I know that it's 3 tries more than your opposition for a bonus point. Anyway, at this point, after one round, I'm looking forward to Springboks All Blacks. I'm not going to lie. But neither of these teams can afford to kind of take their foot off the gas. The Pumas will be better for this game, having seen the Springboks. They have been playing recently against kind of an understrength Wales side. So the Pumas, I think, will be better next week. It'll be interesting to see if the Springboks kind of continue with some of the guys who weren't against the British and Irish Lions, or whether they bring some guys back. Some guys like Diaka and Etzebeth and Kolisi and whatnot could probably use a rest. But anyway, we will see how they go. And as I mentioned, the Pumas, they're going to find some tall wingers who can take high balls. I don't know, or a fullback who's a little bit more secure in that area. We will see. You guys let me know your thoughts on the game. I don't think Nkosi had 1 run. Gutting, but fussy. Beautiful stuff. You guys let me know your thoughts. Good win for the Springboks. And we look forward to the next game between these two teams. You guys take care. I'll talk to you guys soon. See you later. Bye.